Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the second in IRG's series of webinars, which we've aptly named Oracle. And if there ever was a time that we needed to be able to look into the future, I think you'll agree, and gain some clarity, it's now. So, our aim for today's webinar is to provide you with exactly that, in terms of where the Cayman Islands' future lies, and what opportunities there may be for us all, either as existing or potential stakeholders in Cayman's future. And we assume that's exactly why you've joined us today. On this webinar, we're going to focus on the opportunities that Cayman offers residents, particularly high net worth and ultra high net worth ones, as a home, whether it be a third, second, or first one. What makes Cayman a place worth living, as opposed to just a place worth visiting? How is Cayman different from other jurisdictions regionally or globally? And what exactly do you have to do to qualify to become a permanent resident? Firstly, however, let me introduce to you our esteemed panel for today. Joining us from offshore law firm Auger Law is Klein Glidden. He's a senior associate in the firm's property and local legal services team here in the Cayman Islands. He's also a former Cayman Islands government minister and specializes now in guiding investors through the permanent residency process for the Cayman Islands. Secondly, I'm delighted to welcome Steve Jordan, who, along with his family, have recently relocated to Cayman from Abu Dhabi, where he worked in international banking, investment, and consultancy. Steve and his family are currently in the process of applying for permanent residency here. In fact, Steve's relocation happened just as COVID hit. So we look forward to hearing of his experiences with the application process. And as they say, Steve, timing is everything. Lastly, but by no means least, I'd like to welcome my colleague, IRG's James O'Brien, who runs our luxury residential and private investor business. My name is Jeremy Hurst. I'm the founder of IRG, which interestingly originally started as a relocation consultancy in 1995, before we became a full-service real estate group. As such, we have a long history in bringing corporations and private investors to the island, and over the years have handled numerous relocations on behalf of a variety of clients, many of whom still call Cayman their home today. My role today, however, is to act as your moderator. If this is your first time joining us for a webinar, I want to just offer you a few housekeeping tips. If you have any questions you'd like to ask our panel, please enter them using the Q&A link at the bottom of your screen or via the chat tool. You can also email us at info@irg.ky, and we'll provide you with an answer shortly thereafter the webinar. The session today is being recorded, and we'll share that recording with you by email and by social media over the next couple of days. So, without further ado, let's get going. James, first question to you. What is it about the Cayman Islands that makes them such an attractive place, not only to visit, but to relocate to on a long-term basis?
Sure. Well, thank you, Jeremy, and thanks to everybody who took the time to dial in this morning. It's very much appreciated. With regards to your question, Jeremy, the Cayman Islands, as we all know, has many attractive characteristics that make them a place where many people like to come and visit time and time again, including the warm weather, the sun, beautiful beaches. But for those looking to relocate, the Cayman Islands provides its residents with countless opportunities that make it literally a place worth living. Cayman is a tax-neutral British overseas territory with a high standard of living and infrastructure. Cayman's ideal location provides ease of access across many, many countries around the world. Our recent upgraded international airport is a gateway to many cities like Miami, New York, London, Toronto, and the world's busiest airport, I think, at the moment in Atlanta. So compared to other islands in the region, the Cayman Islands obviously is one of the safest, if not the safest in the Caribbean. We offer world-class medical care with renowned surgeons. We have one government hospital and 2 private hospitals alone here on Grand Cayman. We have many private clinics. One hospital in particular, Health City, which was born from a vision of internationally renowned heart surgeon, Dr. Devi Shetty, and humanitarian. So Cayman is also home to top-rated resorts such as the Ritz-Carlton, the Kenton Seafire, exceptional international schools, very important, a vibrant luxury real estate market, obviously very important for us, and a phenomenal culinary scene like no other really in the Caribbean. So like many others on island here, my wife and I planned to be here just for a few years, and now it's been over 12. So thanks.
Thanks, James. Yes, like many of us. Steve, you and your family just had a first-hand experience with this relocation process at what perhaps could and should have been a very difficult time to achieve this smoothly. Tell us a little about your experience, Liz. Firstly, why Cayman? Were we on the radar as a top pick from the start?
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. I mean, after living and working in the Middle East for around 11 years, I was looking to relocate my family. And we spent around a year looking at different destinations across the globe, and actually came across Cayman just by chance on a relocation program on TV. I did some online research just to get some basic context to make sure it was viable as a location for us, for our family. In terms of the real estate, it seemed there was a good standard of family homes available for us to look at. And then I had a chat with an immigration lawyer who really helped me understand what the process was for applying for permanent residency in Cayman. Overall, it was all very constructive and positive, so I had a discussion with my wife. We decided to come and take a look, so we came over in August last year. And really wanted to focus on the priorities for us as a family, which was around schooling, healthcare, quality of lifestyle and affordability, and very importantly, safety and security as well for us as a family. If I'd probably just go through a process a little bit, we started with the schooling. So we arranged school visits with a couple of the large schools here. I have to say, overall, we found the facilities and the standards very high. However, as is the case with many good schools across the globe, places were quite tight. But fortunately for us, I guess our first choice in terms of the school, they were expanding for the 2021 school year. So we had a little bit of reassurance in terms of places and availability for the girls. In terms of safety and security, we wanted somewhere that was going to be safe for us as a family, and where really the girls could go out and enjoy the outdoor lifestyle and not have us at home really worried about them. As James mentioned, Cayman is one of the safest places in the Caribbean, but I think once you actually get on island, you really do appreciate that. And from speaking to residents here, I understand the police take any single crime very seriously, so that was quite reassuring. Healthcare, we spoke to some people on island. One was actually a doctor, so we got immediate reassurance in terms of the quality and services here. I should say I've actually had first-hand experience. After spending one night at our new home, I actually fell into the pool and fractured my ankle in 2 places and my wrist. So I've already utilised the health services here, and I have to say the doctors, the facilities are all very good. Everything was very professional and efficient really, so no complaints at all, very happy. Last was really around lifestyle and affordability. We wanted a good climate where we could all enjoy an outdoor lifestyle, including golf for me. I'm a golfer, so there's a very good golf course here. Probably has too much water for my game, but it's very good. And also to make sure there was enough activities for the girls to take part in here as well. Luckily for us, we met a group of friends very, very quickly. One of them has a daughter. She's about the same age as my oldest. They become really good friends straight away. She's actually at a dance club with her at the moment. So, and that sort of epitomises the sort of attitude on the island. There's a local saying called Cayman kind. I mean, everyone in Cayman is very, very friendly, seems to go out of their way to make you feel welcome. So it's overall just a very relaxed and welcoming environment here. In terms of general affordability on island, I would say I find it okay, actually. I mean, restaurants here are excellent, and if I compared it to something, say, in the UK, in London, I think it's actually very similar. When it goes to general shopping, obviously a lot of things here are imported, so they are going to be more expensive, but on a relative basis, I find that what you're actually paying here is just reflective of, you know, the price of shipping and the duty. So, I mean, overall, I can honestly say that after spending a week here, we were really, really happy. and sort of made our minds up to buy a home here. And it was just really a question of planning the logistics and the timing.
Thanks, Steve. That's a great perspective, and we'll try and keep you out of our healthcare facilities in future. Yeah, can you also tell us a little about the application process itself? Was your experience with it smoother or more challenging, perhaps, than you expected?
Yeah, no, I think it went quite smooth from my perspective. We sat down with James. James showed us a number of suitable homes for us as a family. Then it was just a question of really going to visit them. With his help, we selected the right home for us. We had a very good real estate lawyer who helped us, and the closing was really within around 4 to 6 weeks. So it was a very quick time frame. Then once you have the sort of land registry documents, it's just then a question of getting certain other personal documentational requirements together, which are not onerous at all. It literally took me about a week or two to put together. And then you just submit that as an overall package. So I would say, from my experience, it's been a very sort of smooth and easy process.
Great, that's good to know. Client, over to you. We've heard a little from Steve about why he chose Cayman, and obviously you've been involved in working with permanent residency policy on both sides of the fence. The first said in it when you were part of the Cayman Islands government and its executive council, and now working with investors and facilitating residency for clients. What's your understanding of government's view on the importance of relocation or residency by investment to the Cayman economy? Glenn?
Thanks so much, Jeremy. Good morning to all of those who decided to join us. We look forward to providing information. Jeremy, I just think that having Steve on board has really confirmed, I guess, that the policy is working, and that's a real testament to yourselves at IRG for getting Steve and getting him through this process during this time, as well as to the Cayman Islands in general, to the experience he's had. And Steve, we're happy that, like you said, you're enjoying all the facilities, but we hope that you don't enjoy the medical ones too much. But in general, Jeremy, in terms of your question, the Cayman Islands governments, they consider it to be critically important that Cayman remains attractive to high net worth individuals. These are individuals who have the option to live anywhere they want in the world, because Cayman operates in a consumption-based economy, which allows the island to achieve its significant financial success. These applications are for residents are dealt with on an expedited, non-intrusive basis. We accept and respect the fact that individuals, want their privacy, and so the idea is to require the minimal information. Stated time for approval is 6 to 8 weeks from the submission of an application, but we've seen expedited applications to be approved within 10 days, when there's a justifiable need. It's important to note that the decision is left to the sole discretion of the director. And so that provides for a much more efficient decision-making process, right? We usually, will end up sitting down with the director and his team, going through the application and ensuring that the submission is basically a check the box exercise, just to make sure that all information has been provided. So the intention from a government standpoint, the policy is to make it as unintrusive and as simplified as possible. And I'm glad that's the experience that Steve has had.
Thanks, Glenn. That's great insight. Following on from that, what are the available pathways and maybe thresholds for investment for would-be residents to be granted permanent residency in the Cayman Islands, Glenn?
Jeremy, for the real estate option, there are two options really. One, it requires a investment of US $2.4 million investment in developed real estate, along with a $122,000 government fee. And there's also another option that gives you a 25-year renewable certificate. It requires an investment of US $1.2 million with a $25,000 government fee. The other requirements are the same. You require a clean police record. When we say clean police record, we mean, no issue with minor traffic offenses, etc. You also are required to have local health insurance, and then you have to show proof of the applicant's ability to maintain himself and his dependents. it's important to note that when we look at real estate investments, unlike some of the other countries where their programs have specific projects where the investment has to take place, in Cayman, it's really any developed real estate is eligible. There are no special designated real estate developments that form part of the program. And also it can be a combination of properties. We've seen some individuals who will look at buying a property that is less than the 2.4 million, but then they'll top that up by buying a rental property, for example, that they're not actually living in. So it's meant to be flexible. The idea, again, like we mentioned earlier, it's consumption based. And so those individuals are going to come here, purchase a property and live here. And in that we consume and make a contribution to the Cayman economy.
Well, thanks, Klein. That's great to know. And that flexibility is definitely the key to it, I believe. Steve, an important element of the residency application process is achieving, as we discussed, the minimum level of investment in developed real estate. And finding the right property is therefore clearly a priority for anyone interested in relocating to our islands. Could you tell us a little about your real estate search and how you found the value of property here compared to other jurisdictions that you may have experienced or encountered?
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously it's a relatively small island here, so you do have a limited amount of supply. But personally, as I touched on a little bit in the last point, we did find an acceptable number of sort of family homes here for us to consider. They seem to be of a good quality, some new builds. We've even focus on energy efficiency with solar panels on rooftops, etc. And overall, I found the relative value here versus where we'd looked elsewhere was actually really good. I would certainly even consider some more real estate investments here. Obviously, it's just a question of some of the uncertainties we have in the world at the moment. It's just going to be a question of timing.
Right. Thanks, Steve. That's good to know. And I saw James smile there when you mentioned that. So that's
sure he did.
So, James, I'm sure that we're all able to point to several high-profile success stories of investors and corporations that have relocated to our islands for residency or business purposes. But based upon the current feedback from your client base, what opportunities do you foresee for Cayman in growing the permanent residency sector in the wake of the current COVID crisis?
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. It's a great question. As you know, we've had some really good success stories in the past. Anything from family offices relocating, corporations, indeed, and individuals and families just like Steve. Honestly, we've been inundated with international clients reaching out to us for more information, specifically on investment opportunities and residential opportunities here in Cayman. So since March, everybody will know this milestone date, COVID hit us. We've seen about 2 to 3 queries a week. And this is due really to the exceptional steps that the Cayman Islands government has taken to keep our islands safe during the global pandemic, of course. So earlier on, in around mid-March, the government made a decision to close our borders, which has since safeguarded our relatively small population. But this hasn't gone unnoticed internationally, especially with the media, including Forbes, who did a phenomenal article really early in the game. I think it was back in April. So Cayman really has proven to be one of the safest places literally in the world, and has consequently been recognized as a safe haven by many high net worth and ultra high net worth individuals. So obviously IRG's online presence attracts a certain client base, and with our collection of properties, as well as the local MLS system, IRG's offerings have also attracted high net worth and ultra high net worth international clientele. So typically that investor base comes from Canada. We're seeing a lot of Canadians, United States citizens, of course, which is our biggest client base generally. UK individuals just like Steve, and Asian clients actually, believe it or not. A lot of Asian clients really focused on Cayman and this side of the world right now. So, typically these are the areas people, generally the UK, Canada and the US are frequent visitors. And now they just want to know, when can they get here? Certainly for a visit, but when can they relocate? So, people, clients are looking at properties sight unseen, through FaceTime, WhatsApp video, all of that good stuff, and you know, actually willing to purchase significant prices sight unseen. So that'll give you a bit of a testament as to where it's at. So typically, we see our clients interested in 5-star condominiums along the famous 7 Mile Beach. Oh no, it's this way, I think. And we also see a huge interest in single-family homes, in gated communities. Access to water is always very important. And the real sort of creme de la creme are the beachfront villas in the really seclusive enclaves up in the east end and the north side of the island, right behind my head. To give really the, you know, these are larger homes, to give larger families that really true secluded island feeling and escape, right? So as I mentioned earlier, Cayman has great medical care. I think we can't highlight that enough. We don't do ourselves enough justice. The latest statistic that I heard, believe it or not, we have 4.5 doctors and over 6 nurses per 1,000 head of population here in the Cayman Islands. So, I mean, that's a world-class statistic. And you can literally always find medical services, quality experts that'll meet your needs. So again, you know, it's very unique, and we're very proud to have this in our own backyard.
Yeah, thanks, James, and that's very, very comforting and reassuring. And of course, the great news is that the government's announced recently that we'll be opening our borders on a phased, managed basis from September 1st. So we're going to start gradually encouraging permanent residents and property owners and eventually investors and tourists to come back to the island on a phased, managed basis, which is the typical way Cayman approaches these things. So thanks again, James, for that. So Klein, many jurisdictions, including a number of well-known Caribbean ones, are offering cheap passports at the moment through their citizenship by investment programs, and some are even heavily discounting their programs currently. How do you see Cayman's programs differing from these low-cost options, and why should someone choose one of Cayman's offerings over these?
Thanks, Jeremy. As you mentioned, citizenship and residency by investment have become buzzwords for high net worth individuals recently. As you say, there are many other jurisdictions offering, you know, what would be deemed as travel documents, but Cayman actually offers is a lifestyle, and it, you know, like some of our other jurisdictions in the region, Cayman offers a very high level of sun, sea, and sand, but in addition, Cayman offers a higher level of sophistication, serenity, and safety in a very convenient geographical location that only happens to be 1 hour air time away from the US mainland. So this is a very attractive option for those who are interested in actually relocating with their family or who are looking at benefiting from Cayman's tax neutral status. Critical components like good education opportunities, you know, first-class healthcare facilities, and significant airlift options really sets Cayman apart from those other destinations. As you know, I mean, when people are looking at those as an option, as Steve mentioned, those are pretty critical and considerations that you're looking at with your family. And as James just mentioned, and it's been mentioned a few times, in terms of healthcare, one of the differentiating factors is that Cayman has one of the only JCI accredited hospital facilities, which is used as a medical tourism destination by some of the major corporations in the US, who actually send their employees down to Cayman to undergo treatment. And so that should give a sense of comfort that, you know, healthcare is going to be the equivalent of what you're going to get in mainland US, which is also always an important consideration. Cayman prides itself in providing best-in-class service, which is achieved by striving for a balance in providing protection of opportunities for locals, while also allowing for the opportunity to attract the best and brightest in their respective fields to make Cayman home. This is evidenced by the fact that there were 140 different nationalities living in Cayman, ranging from nannies to CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. As a British overseas territory, Cayman isn't really an option for those who are simply looking for a passport as a travel document, like some of the other countries. But Cayman offers a lifestyle choice where people can actually relocate with their families, enjoy the safety and serenity of a beautiful Caribbean island with a warm climate throughout the year, with tax neutral status, where the residents are known to be, as Steve mentioned, Cayman kind.
Thanks, Klein. Very, very, very compelling, I believe. Steve, we talked about the attributes that make Cayman attractive as a destination for relocation, and we have a clear picture of the pathways that are open to would-be investors. But although you said you had a great experience, so could you offer any suggestions as to how the process might be improved?
Yeah, I mean, the current requirement is obviously to buy a developed property to meet the investment threshold. And we are on a relatively small island, so there is limited supply. And obviously you will have individuals and families with specific requirements that they're looking for in terms of their home. So I could fully understand that some people may prefer to buy land and then try and develop their own property. I think if the government could come up with some kind of regulation to support that approach, obviously you'd want to ensure that the total land and build cost meets the investment criteria. But so long as you put that in place and you did it within an acceptable time frame, then personally I think that would certainly be a potential catalyst for more and more people to look to relocate here.
Okay, yeah, great feedback. Thanks for that, Steve. James, you've worked with numerous individuals who've relocated to Cayman from the UK, Monaco, Canada, United States, to name a few. As you know, IRG is about to relaunch its specialist relocation division for high net worth investors as a sister company, which will be known as IRC, or as International Relocation Consultants. What, in your opinion, are the key steps in making a relocation transition as smooth as possible for all those involved?
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. It's a great question. I guess there are many steps. First and foremost, we at IRC and IRG, we understand that moving to a new home can be exceedingly difficult, right? So when you add moving countries to that mix, there's a lot of additional challenges and stress, quite frankly, on the family unit or in the individuals. So at IRC, we believe in building really true personal relationships, first and foremost. And that's why we guide individuals, families, corporations, as we said earlier, from start to finish. We're not a volume-based business, but rather a bespoke private client relocation service. So I think that's important for our audience to understand. So actually, when Steve was deciding on relocating earlier this year, as we said, then came COVID-19, we had to pivot really quickly. I jumped on the phone. Steve and I had multiple calls. I finally advised him. I said, Steve, jump on that plane from London and get here as soon as you can, because the borders are about to close. And I think Steve, you got in on the last day, literally the last day, right? Which was, I forget the date, Monday the 14th of March, I think it was. Anyway, so what do we have to do there? We had to act really quickly. We organized accommodation for Steve and his family in a Ritz-Carlton condo listing that I had, through a client of mine, which was great. She said, yeah, absolutely, happy to help your client, James, whatever it takes. Then it was a 14 self-quarantine. Back then, it was a self-quarantine phase. So unfortunately for Steve's family, his two young girls couldn't understand that they couldn't go to the resort's pools, out on the beach, because a couple of months ago they were experiencing the Ritz-Carlton at its best, right? Anyway, you got to remember, we were in full lockdown. And so then once Steve and his family came out of their self-quarantine, they finally moved into their new home. Then we had the challenge, everything was in lockdown, no furniture, no services. So I actually gave him my own spare bedroom furniture. We put it in a truck, we sent it over to the home, and anyway, we at least we got them something to sleep on. So literally drastic times mean that we need to take care of our clients. We need to go above and beyond, no matter what the circumstances. And it's my job to make our clients feel special. After all, we understand that the first night in your home, in your new home, needs to be a memorable one, despite the circumstances. So when our clients are looking to relocate, we encourage them to visit the Cayman Islands if they can. However, we understand it's not always possible. And technology has certainly helped us, and we utilize technology to the utmost as well when we're presenting the opportunity. Then we literally become their concierge. We provide them with travel logistics, temporary accommodations, as I mentioned earlier, various activities, so keep the kids happy. We lay all of that on for them. We also introduce them to third parties, and really only the best, such as the excellent offshore law firm like Auger. And Klein, you know, literally is an extension of our service, and really takes care of the clients. So whether that's, you know, the client's looking for residency, looking to set up a corporation, companies like Auger can do that exceptionally well. Then we assist with a suite of all other property related services, such as architectural recommendations if you want to build or modify your property, interior designers, construction personnel, and as you know, Jeremy, we only deal with the best. So it's important that they're an extension again of IRC and the white glove service that we like to produce. So it takes a lot really to move countries, and you know, we're there throughout the process, offering, as I said, a white gloves type of service end to end. Thank you.
Thanks, James. Actually, I think we've got some photographs of you. I don't believe you're wearing white gloves, offloading the furniture from your truck. We've resisted posting them on Facebook up to now, but maybe after today's webinar, we should do that.
Not that day, but we got the job done. It wasn't pretty.
So thanks all of you. But before we wrap up, I'd like to ask each of you in turn, based upon your individual perspectives, experiences, and of course your roles as a leading local attorney, a luxury realtor, and a recent permanent resident applicant. What will make Cayman continue to succeed in this competitive global sector and stand out from the crowd as the place worth living? Klein, starting with you.
So Jeremy, as I was saying, I think that there's a few components. First of all, are you all hearing me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So first of all, the government ensuring that Cayman maintains its safety, sophistication, and tax neutrality by being fiscally responsible, which allows for us to continue with our financial independence and flexibility. You know, while other countries find themselves having to trade off health and economic, you know, or for economic concerns during the recent pandemic, you know, Cayman fortunately found itself in a position, the enviable position of being able to put the health of the residents first, which has allowed for the amazing results during the COVID pandemic and caused Cayman to become desired as a safe haven during these troubling times. Should also mention that the continued service by our exceptional partners like IRG, who provide that white glove service, like James just mentioned, I think will continue to keep Cayman in an exclusive category, which is sought after by those looking for relocation options. You know, when we referred to earlier, we talked about Cayman Kind, and I know James mentioned him coming here and becoming a part of the Cayman fabric, and I think that's a perfect example of getting here and providing a service that I think obviously would be desired by those that can go anywhere and would be hard to replicate in any of the other offerings. And so that's one of the reasons why we're proud to partner with entities like IRG and IRC. And we look forward to continuing to work together to make Cayman that special place.
Thanks, Klein. James, your thoughts as we close?
Yeah, I guess final thoughts really, Jeremy, first and foremost, we're a Caribbean destination. So the island offers the best infrastructure, medical care, exceptional schooling, quality of real estate construction, ease of access to the rest of the world. Cayman is truly one of the safest islands and one of the safest destinations globally now, as we've heard. And, you know, direct regular flights from some of the world's largest cities. We tend to forget this, you know, direct connections to London, New York, Chicago, Miami, Houston in the US, and Toronto as well in Canada. So we might be a dot in the ocean, but we're very much connected to the biggest cities in the world. Thank you.
Thanks, James. And Steve, the last word is yours.
Yeah, look, from my perspective, I mean, I think Cayman should keep doing exactly what it's done so far. I mean, Cayman had everything that we were looking for as a family on paper. But then from the personal experience of then coming on Ireland and being here, I can actually say it's sort of surpassed all of our expectations. So Cayman has honestly been about discovering a well-kept secret to us. I appreciate probably people joining from North America may know Cayman quite well because of the flights, but obviously in other parts of the world where there aren't direct flights, it is a well-kept secret. So really it's been about discovering that secret from a personal perspective. And then obviously with the way that the government here has dealt with the COVID-19 crisis has been really impressive to us as a family. As James touched upon, there's been a lot of publicity around that. And again, I think people will be looking at that and it will serve as another catalyst for more and more people and businesses to start thinking about relocating here.
Thanks so much, Steve. And thanks to each of our panelists for your thoughts and wisdom. Thanks equally, of course, to each of you who registered and attended. We greatly appreciate your joining us today and hope you found this webinar a good use of your time as well as enjoyable. For those of you already in the Cayman Islands, continue to enjoy our beautiful and thankfully pretty much COVID-free island. For those of you interested in learning more about Cayman and permanent residency, let us know. We'd be delighted to provide you with the guidance to make Cayman your new home. If you have left any questions in the chat or question rooms, we'll answer those as soon as we can after the webinar is finished. And if something occurs to you later, just simply drop us an email at info@iag.ky. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we hope to see you on our next Oracle webinar. And so from all of us in the beautiful Cayman Islands, goodbye and have a wonderful day. Thanks again.